Good morning, my friends. How are you today? Welcome to Sewing in Slippers with Sue. Today we have a special guest. I want to introduce Elaine Morton. And Elaine is one of our Ahead of the Curve members. Hey, Elaine, nice to see you this morning.
How are you today?
Good. Oh, you match your quilt. You look absolutely beautiful in that color of blue. So
Thank
pretty.
you.
So, Elaine, where are you coming to us from?
I'm in Mississauga, Ontario.
Oh, you know what? That is a special place to me because my father-in-law lived there for a few years before he passed away. So I had family there and I used to go visit Mississauga on a regular basis. Now I have some very good friends that live there and I love to come visit. So one of these days, we're going to get to meet in person. That would be so much fun.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, my last trip there, unfortunately, was very jam-packed busy, and I was not able to come by and say hello. Now we have Doreen from Vermont visiting. She's listening in. If you're listening in, go ahead and put a comment in the comment section so that Elaine and I will know who is here. So welcome, everybody. We are going to get started, and today Elaine is going to be giving us a little tutorial on putting some triangles on your quilt for hanging triangles. It's a way to hang your quilts. And our second topic for today is celebrating your success. So, Elaine, this fits perfectly into celebrating your success because one of the things that we don't do often enough is to show our quilts and to gracefully accept all of the congratulations and the pats on the back for seeing our beautiful finished quilts. So I love that we're going to talk about hanging quilts today because whether you are hanging them in your home or you're giving them as a gift and you want the gift recipient to hang that quilt, or you're hanging them in your local quilt show or even a national quilt show, we need to know the best way to hang our quilts to show them off beautifully. Now, back in the 80s, oftentimes we used to put tabs on the tops of our quilts and then we'd put a rod through those tabs. Now that's definitely out of fashion. We don't do that anymore. There are better ways to hang a quilt and lots of invisible ways to hang a quilt. So that's what we want to share with all of you today. Elaine has learned a beautiful way to hang her quilts, and not only is it inconspicuous and easy, but it is what? It's invisible, right? Do you see it when you're...
It depends. I've done it fancy.
Oh, okay. So, Elaine, take it away. Show us how you hang your quilts in an easy way.
Okay. You can't really see it, but there are hanging sleeve here.
Oh my goodness! That just came out of nowhere.
And if you put the folds correctly, you can put some it in the fold in there or underneath and have a video.
Oh, that is fabulous. Okay, so these look like triangles, but they're practically invisible on the back of your quilt when you match your fabric. I didn't even know that you had hanging triangles there. So, Elaine, how do we get started making these hanging triangles?
You need a square. You fold it diagonally in half and diagonally in half.
Okay.
The top edge goes under the binding so it needs to be done before you bind it.
Okay.
And you've got one side that is solid and one side that has two folds.
Okay. Elaine, we have Mary says you are echoing. Yeah, we are echoing, Anita said. So would you mind putting on your headphones to see if that helps? And I'm going to plug in my headphones as well. So what we're talking about today is an easy way to hang your quilts. And what Elaine said is that she puts these triangles in before she binds her quilt. So we are getting two steps done at the same time. Now, what I'm loving about this technique is there's no real hand stitching, just a quick tack down on those triangles. So once Elaine gets her headphones in, I will let her take it away and I'll put my headphones in. I'm not echoing, Mary. Okay, so I'm going to do without the headphones right now and see if that works. Okay, let's see if Elaine's works now.
So you've got the two folds on one side, a solid fold on this side, and if you pay attention to how you orient them, you can either put the hanger in here
Okay.
or behind it.
Okay, excellent. So if you put the solid fold that's not open, if you put the solid fold on each end of your quilt,
Right.
then that way you can use it as a closed system so that your pole goes in between those two layers. Okay, if you do it the other way, you don't have the opportunity to get inside of that triangle with the pole.
In which case you have to put it behind.
Yes,
So
which
it's
isn't
still functional, but
Yeah.
it's not as versatile.
right. Oh, I love this versatile method. That is a great word for it. That's
And
fabulous.
with arthritis, not doing a lot of hand sewing was a plus.
Okay, now they are saying we're still echoing, so I'm going to go ahead and get my headphones in. So, Elaine, tell us, how would you choose the size triangle for the back of your quilt? What are your guidelines?
If you're putting it in a show, they would say a hanging sleeve of a certain dimension. So it may be whichever guild or show you want to put it in. The size of the quilt, naturally, I'd make it a bit bigger for a bigger quilt, a bit smaller. I'm tending to do about a 4.5, 5-inch
Finish size?
finished size. And
Okay.
when you fold the triangle, take the 5-inch and double it.
Right. And you're going to lose a full inch on that measurement because you're putting a 1/4 inch up into the binding. Now, Elaine, we don't see your head. You're cut off a little bit. There you go. Get back. Perfect. So you're going to lose a 1/4 inch on all 4 sides of that square. So whatever finish size your rod is, so if your guild says make it fit a 5-inch rod, you actually have to really increase the size. So you want the opening to be 5.5 maybe, and then you need an inch for what's going to go into the binding because all 4 edges of that square go into the binding. So I would say add a good 2 inches to your final measurement that you want for your rod.
I don't think you lose quite that much.
Okay.
The 1/4 inch at the top.
Right, but that's on all 4 sides of the square. Right? You lose that 1/4 inch on all 4 sides of that square.
Right.
Because of the way that it's folded, you've got all your edges together. Now, I know there's a diagonal measurement in there, so it's probably a little bit less. Okay, Mary, thank you so much. It did take both of us getting our headphones on to stop the echoing. It's funny. Sometimes that happens and sometimes it doesn't.
So right now it's measuring 5 inches deep.
Okay, and what size square did you start out with?
Let me just quickly measure. It was 10.5.
Okay, good, good. All right. Well, so absolutely you want to oversize your square and you want to test that. You want to fold that square, measure it, not including that seam allowance that's going to go into your binding. Now, once you have it into the binding, Elaine, what do we do next? It needs to be sewn down somehow. What do you recommend?
I usually baste it and then put the binding on top of it
Okay, that's a
and then
great
just
idea.
tack the bottom.
And just tack the bottom by hand. Oh, I love that you're eliminating all of that hand sewing.
I
Okay,
don't
so
know
you've,
if you can see that.
I do, yes. Okay, down a little bit. Go, okay, right there, we can see the yellow one. Excellent. And there's the pink one. Excellent. So you've just tacked down the very tip of that triangle. And I would say you're going to want to really tack that very, very well because if it goes into multiple shows, we're not seeing it, Elaine. You got to go up just a little bit. Yeah. Okay. Right there. And pull back, pull back, pull back. Yes. Good. Okay, you really want to tack that point very, very well because if that's going to hang in multiple shows and they're putting a rod through there, it's going to take a lot of pressure, right? It's going to take a lot of wear and tear at that point. So you really want to stitch that well by hand and maybe even use like a little heavier thread so that it can really withstand some tugging. But I love the way you make that little pocket and your rod can either fit inside the pocket or go right through underneath the whole triangle. So I think it's absolutely brilliant, Elaine, and I want to thank you for coming on and sharing that with me. Now, Elaine, if you don't mind, I'd love to keep you for another little bit. I'd love to talk a little bit about the membership with you. You have been a member of our Ahead of the Curve membership for about 3 years now.
Has it been that long?
Just about, maybe two and a
Feels
half to
like it's
three.
been yesterday.
Oh, it goes by so quickly, does it? And Darlene says hello, by the way. So, Elaine, I'm just curious, what is your favorite project you've ever made in Ahead of the Curve?
Oh, that's hard to say because I really like making the trees with the quilt as you go method.
Okay, that was a
Monet's
beautiful
garden is
quilt.
spectacular.
Yes, yes, your Monet's garden is amazing. And
Belle en Rouge.
now, Belle en Rouge was not part of the membership, but you took the online course for Belle en Rouge because that's a 9-month course. That is quite involved. So that's not, the membership is more for those short, quick projects that you can feel that sense of accomplishment right away. Belle en Rouge took a little while for you to get that done, and it is stunning. I am going to ask you if I can include some photos of those quilts in the blog post this week. That way, everybody that's on can go to the blog and see some of your work. Would that be okay?
I'm happy with that.
Okay, wonderful. And I'd love some close-up pictures of those triangles as well. That would be really helpful to show people that step-by-step process. So that's just fantastic. Now, Elaine, have you made Hope's Diamond yet?
No, that's one I haven't done.
Okay, well, Hope's Diamond is a project that we're actually starting tomorrow. Now, I know you, Elaine, and lots of other members, you are working on a Baltimore quilt with me right now. So you may not be making Hope's Diamond with me tomorrow, but Hope's Diamond is a class that's available to all of our gold and, let me just plug in again for a sec. It's available to all of our gold and platinum members. And in addition, that course, I've got my cords all tied up in the back there. That's better. That course is also something that is in our on-demand projects for our platinum members. So you could take that course at any time. And I want to show you my favorite version of Hope's Diamond. That's why I had to move my speakers so that I could reach with this headphones. This is the Hope's Diamond quilt that I made for Keepsake Quilting many, many years ago. Keepsake Quilting wanted to make a kit from this fabric, and so they chose readily available batik fabrics at that time. This was probably, oh, do I have a label on this quilt? This is probably 15 years ago or so. Oh, maybe it's not that old. Let's see if oh, 2013, so a good 10 years ago. Okay. So obviously you would not be able to get these same batik fabrics again. But what's wonderful about batiks is that they're timeless, right? You could substitute any mossy green batik for this one and this one. You could substitute any gold and any pink, and you could get a quilt that looks very similar to this, even though that kit is long gone. So Hope's Diamond is a really fun quilt to make with the Grand Leaves Galore tool. And it's one of my favorite quilts. It's actually been one of my most popular workshops over the past 10 years or so. Now, I do have a bonus quilt that is made from the leftover pieces of Hope's Diamond. So when you're cutting these curvy diamonds, and those curvy diamonds just lay on our background fabric. Those curvy diamonds come from a regular 60-degree diamond, and you end up with all these little curvy bonus pieces. So after the Hope's Diamond class, if you want to utilize all those little curvy bonus pieces, we have a pattern for you, and it's free on our website. This pattern is called Desert Flowers. So it's just a strippy jelly roll race quilt, but I wanted to dress it up a little bit. So I just put 1/3 of it with a little bit of applique on top, and those were just those bonus pieces that were already cut when I made the quilt. So I know that many of you in our Ahead of the Curve membership, the gold and the platinum level, are taking Hope's Diamond with me tomorrow. So what if you are not a member? Well, we also have a getaway week up in Maine, and I'm going to be teaching that class at our getaway in Maine. So don't forget that you can sign up for UFOs over Schoodic. You'll talk to Bev Henyon about that, and we will get you signed up if you would like to come to our getaway week. I'm looking for that banner. There it is. So Rick and Bev Henyon at gmail.com. That's where you would go to find out more information about the Hope's Diamond workshop that's happening at Arcadia National Park in Maine. That's in October, so it should be great fun. Okay, so Elaine, one of the things that I wanted to talk about is celebrating your successes. Do you have a tradition or a ritual? Do you do anything special when you finish a project in your sewing room?
Not really. And you're right. Celebrating is so important.
It is, that's the motivation either to get through a difficult project or to celebrate and just put a final stamp of approval on any finished project, and with a happy heart, with an excited mind to move into the next project. We don't do enough celebrating in our life, and it's not only with our quilts, is it?
You're right.
Right. When we've reached a goal for ourselves, say you have a savings goal and you want to save $1,000 to put in your emergency fund. When you reach that goal, it is celebration time. When you have cleaned out your stash and gotten it all organized and color-coded and it's all neat and pretty, it is time to celebrate. And when you've finished your Hope's Diamond quilt, you've put that binding and your label on, it is absolutely time to celebrate. Now, many of you know that when I start a new course with my students, I always buy a bottle of champagne. And that champagne comes to the first class with me, and then it sits over here on my table. It's gone right now. I had to grab it for a party I went to yesterday, but I put a bottle of champagne right on that table, and I know that when the course that we're working on right now is cave clamshells, I know that when that group finishes cave clamshells, we will absolutely be coming together, showing our successful quilts and celebrating. And it's such an important step that we often overlook. Now, one of the reasons why people overlook celebrating is because they don't want to be the person that's patting themselves on the back. And I think that that's wrong. If you can't celebrate your successes, nobody else is going to celebrate for you. So you absolutely get to pat yourself on the back, and you get to celebrate with your favorite beverage of choice. Maybe you give yourself a little gift. Maybe you allow yourself to buy fabric for your next project. Maybe that's your celebration for finishing a project. So I would love to hear in the comments, how do you celebrate when you finish a quilting project? Or when you've lost 5 pounds, or when you've put that $1,000 in your savings account? Do you have a tradition or a method of celebrating that gives you motivation, but also just lets you take a breather? Sometimes we go from one project into the other, and we don't take time to breathe, and we don't take time to enjoy the beauty of that project, and we certainly don't take time to congratulate ourselves and celebrate our successes. So this project that Elaine did with us today, those hanging tabs on the back of your quilt, those hanging triangles, that brought me right to mind about celebrating, and that's what I was planning to talk about today. Because when you're celebrating your successes, I want you to show them off. One of the best ways to celebrate is to share that quilt with your fellow quilters. Now, it is quilt show season here in New England. I don't know how many quilt shows there are in September and October, but boy, I could go to a quilt show every weekend. Sometimes celebrating for me is taking a couple hours away from my favorite projects and going and seeing one of those quilt shows. Another way to celebrate is to enter a show yourself. Not only is it that pat on the back that you need when you are accepted into a show, and sometimes they're juried and sometimes they're not, but whether or not they're juried, if you have a quilt hanging in a show, that is cause for celebration. And I want you to not keep that light under a basket. I want you to shine that light out for everybody else to see. So one of the things that I do is when my quilts are in a show, I let people know about it. Your friends and your family, especially those friends and your quilting friends, they want to celebrate with you. So invite them to see your quilt that is on exhibit, even if it's on exhibit in your own home. What better way to celebrate than invite all your girlfriends over and have your latest quilt hanging on the wall as you make a toast to finishing that project? So I would love to know from all of you what you do to celebrate. Alice says she doesn't do a celebration, but it's a good idea to have one. For Debbie West, she says for difficult projects, we get together with champagne and appetizers. I love it. And another Facebook user says, I have made both Hope's Diamond and Desert Flowers. I would love to know who that Facebook user is. So if you've made Hope's Diamond and Desert Flowers, put your name in the chat. I'm not seeing all the names right now, only if you gave StreamYard permission to use your name. So I think that it's really important to think about that celebration. So why don't we all make a plan to celebrate our next project? So I've got Hope's Diamond happening with my members. Starts tomorrow. It's a 2-week class. So it's not going to be finished tomorrow. Not that the quilts are ever finished that day, but the instruction won't be finished for another day. That's a 2-part class. So after that quilt is finished, I love to see a celebration in a different way. Because we're not in the same room together, because we're not even in the same town or in the same country, Elaine, we we can still celebrate together, can't we? Our Ahead of the Curve members get together once a month for our Open Sew Day. We have a Get Ahead Open Sew Day on Fridays once a month, and that Open Sew Day is coming up this Friday. So I'm going to challenge all of my members to come with a finished block or hopefully a finished project that's already bound and labeled. That's truly finished, isn't it? Once you've got the binding and the label on it. And I'm going to challenge my members to come on this Friday. We're getting together this Friday for our all-day Get Ahead Sit and Sew, and I would love to see some finished projects. Now, if we do have some finished projects, I won't be opening up my champagne because that is a daytime class, but I will certainly celebrate a toast with my coffee mug with you, and and we can celebrate each other's success. Now, another way that I love to celebrate successes is on Facebook. Now, I know Facebook is not everybody's cup of tea, but for me, it is a fabulous way for people across this world to get together in groups that organize people that love the same things. So here at Sue Pelland Designs, we have our Rotary Cut Applique Facebook group that everybody can belong to. So if you join the Rotary Cut Applique Facebook group, that is a perfect place to celebrate your successes with your applique quilts. We try to keep it about applique to keep that group focused on applique. There's a million quilting groups in there, so mine really focuses on Rotary Cut Applique. And when you have a success in that arena, I certainly want to hear about it. And then we have a more exclusive group just for our members called Ahead of the Curve. And if you want to join that group, all you need to do is join the Ahead of the Curve membership, join in with me and Elaine and about 100 other really excited appliqueurs. You get to come and take workshops every month. You get to come to our open sews. We get to celebrate together, and it is so much fun. Now, one other thing, Brenda S. will be in Charlotte, North Carolina, so she's going to miss all the fun. Oh, Anita made the Hope's Diamond and the Desert Flowers. Thank you, Anita. Fabulous. One more thing I wanted to talk about. I just showed you the quilt for our September project, but a lot of our members are not making small projects. They are working towards one big project. So this is our cornucopia block. That's our September block for our Almost in Baltimore quilt. Now, one of the features of this little block are these berries over here. And if anybody knows those berries, first of all, you know how invasive that plant is. Those are bittersweet berries. And I talked about some bittersweet memories, some bittersweet times on my newsletter this week. And that theme is going to bring us right into October as well. On my sewing machine is my bittersweet basket, and I'm going to be using that same motif again in the bittersweet basket, and that is going to be my October block. So my sewing room is quite the disaster right now. I've got all these berries cut out. I've got my all of my green elements on my block, and I'm stitching all of my green elements before I add all those other beautiful shapes and berries and flowers onto that block. So it will be time to celebrate when we're working on our October block now, or I'm working on the October block. I've got November and December to design, and then I will have my Almost in Baltimore blocks all done. 12 different Baltimore blocks that I'm going to be assembling into that quilt. So there are definitely times that we celebrate. When I finish a project, that's a time to celebrate. When I finish planning a project for our members, that's a great time to celebrate. When one of my members finishes a project, that's an absolute great time for me to celebrate because I feel a little tiny part in that success because I hope that I have encouraged you and gotten you motivated to get some of these projects finished. Well, Elaine, I have had such an education today. Those triangles, I think, are going to be my new way to hang any small quilt. Now, I do have two quilt shows coming up where I'm going to be either exhibiting at the show or my quilts will be in the show. September 16th and 17th, the Marathon Quilters in Hopkinton, Massachusetts are holding their annual biennial show. So I have several quilts that are going to be in that show. So if anybody's local and you want to come out, that would be fabulous. Then I have a quilt hanging at the Grand Rapids, Michigan show. That is the same weekend. I believe that's also it's probably 14, 15, 16, and 17. So if you're in the Grand Rapids area, that AQS show is just fabulous. And then about a week or two later, my True Colors of Springtime quilt is heading to Des Moines, Iowa to go to the AQS show there. Then I'm going to be vending for the first time in God knows how many years since COVID began. I'm going to be vending for the first time at a local show in Rhode Island. It's called the Quilters by the Sea Show, and it's in Portsmouth, Rhode Island. So if you're a fan of Newport and you want to come up to Newport for the weekend, it's right around the corner. It's the next town over, and it is a fabulous show with many, many talented quilters. And this is the guild my mom used to belong to, and all of her friends are still in that guild. So it will be such great fun. I'm going to celebrate with all of my friends from Rhode Island that belong to the Quilters by the Sea show because they're going to be hanging all of their beautiful quilts there, and I can't wait to see them. All right, Elaine, I just want to ask you one more question about your Ahead of the Curve membership. What is it that you had hoped to achieve when you joined Ahead of the Curve? Were you already an applicator, or was this something brand new for you?
I had already been doing a lot of applique.
Okay.
Using steamosine
Mm-hmm.
and
Were you a
I
little
had
bit?
your rulers. I had a number of your patterns, and it was on my wanting to do list.
Okay,
And
great.
I had also been seeing a number of patterns that I thought would transfer easily over to your
Absolutely.
technique.
Yes, I was just on Pinterest this morning. Elaine and I were chatting before our session today, and I was over on Pinterest and I found a beautiful quilt that was all orange peel, and it was graded from a light purple in the middle, and it went out to a deep, deep purple, and it was just a simple, easy quilt that would lend itself so easily to the rotary cut applique technique. So Elaine, I know exactly what you're talking about. There are so many quilts out there where we can use these rotary cut applique methods. And once you learn the technique, it's just something you're going to sprinkle into just about every quilt that you make. So fantastic. Now I'm curious, have you achieved that goal of finding a new way to applique, making it maybe a little faster, a little bit easier for you?
Oh, yes.
You
But you
absolutely
keep
have.
having such wonderful new ideas, new challenges.
Okay, so that's why you're still in the membership because there's always something new and there's always something fun to do.
Beautiful, beautiful quilts, beautiful other techniques.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How
Well,
you
I
make the roses, it looks so difficult, but when you break it down the way you do, it's so simple.
Right. I think we're going to include roses in one of the next two blocks. I haven't decided which one, but either in the October or the November block for Almost in Baltimore, I was pulling out those roses again because I think it's such a fun technique. Oh, look at the beautiful rose that you added to your bluebird block. That is fabulous, Elaine. I love it. Now, my favorite thing about watching you grow through this membership is seeing you incorporate those ideas, techniques that we might have taught a year or two or three ago, and you're bringing out those ideas again and incorporating.
We've lost your sound.
Sometimes my microphone unplugs, and thank you so much for letting me know right away. So I love my favorite thing about seeing people grow through the membership is seeing Elaine take that rose that she learned in her Ballon Rouge class several years ago, and now you're bringing that into a block that I designed that didn't have a rose in it, but you knew you could add these special design elements because you have the confidence and the knowledge to bring these designs into your own projects so you can modify, you can make these blocks your own. And I just love that you now have the confidence and the skills to do exactly that, to bring all of these techniques together to make these quilts really unique and personal for you. I love it.
Spring Flame. It was a quick, easy project.
Spring Fling.
Which means it was to play with a new color scheme that I haven't played with before.
Okay,
Does
I
not
love
feel
that.
overwhelming and too much of a investment in an experiment.
Excellent. That is a great observation that by doing some of the smaller projects, instead of doing a year-long quilt where you're making block after block, when you're doing a smaller project like our Spring Fling, this was a technique class, wasn't it? We learned how to do that wavy border, just like we're doing in our the background for our Under the Sea quilt. We cut that wavy panel that we made into borders, and Elaine got to play with a totally different color combination that she had never worked with before. So the smaller projects, that instant gratification, the ability to play but not have a huge investment of time, those are all wonderful things about the membership that I hadn't thought of before.
And
so
of course,
thank you.
I didn't have to trace and fuse and recut. So putting it together
goes like that, doesn't it? It's really
I could
quicker.
have done it in 2.5 weeks easily, except of course I got sidetracked. But
yeah, that's easy to do, isn't it?
But still, the top is done.
Fantastic. Oh, I'm so glad to hear that. These quick, easy techniques give you that ability to play. And then we have those successes more frequently, those finished projects that we get to celebrate. So I love it, Elaine. These are all great reasons to join the membership. But you know what one of my favorite parts of the membership is? And it does this for me as well as to all of my students and my friends here that are joining the membership. It's this community. Having all of my people show up here on our Sewing in Slippers with Sue, I would say 80% of them are Ahead of the Curve members. And then I get to look forward to our Sit and Sew Day on Friday. That is a wonderful chance for that community to come together. No pressure, no agenda, no criticism. Everything is positive. We just sit and sew together, keep each other company while we're getting our projects finished. There is no teaching. It's just free time when you get together with friends, get to know people a little bit better, and sit and sew together. So the community is absolutely my favorite aspect of the Ahead of the Curve membership. So I'm really excited that tomorrow I'll be teaching part 1 of Hope's Diamond. And then just 2 weeks later, we're going to give you 2 weeks to get that quilt center finished. I'll be showing you how to add the borders and how to cut out those leaves for the borders. So it is a 2-part class. We do that we call it one class, right? So when you get a free workshop every month, it's not free, right? You've paid for it with your membership. But when your membership includes one workshop every month, it doesn't matter whether it's a 4-hour workshop or an 8-hour workshop. That workshop is included in your membership. So I'm super excited to start Hope's Diamond on, that's Wednesday, that's tomorrow. And I cannot wait to see all of the beautiful experiments, all those different color choices that people get to use. That is such a great time when you get together with other quilters to see how they interpret these patterns. Another great benefit of the membership. All right. Well, Elaine, I want to thank you for coming out today and sharing that fabulous triangle hanging method with me. I can't wait to try it, but I don't have a quilt yet that doesn't have a binding. So my question for you was, can you do this technique on a quilt that already has the binding? And it's really not ideal, is it?
You've got all those top edges are raw. So
Right, right. So the only way that I could think of to do this would be to sew 2 squares together. So, and then turn it so you have all 4 finished sides. Then you could fold it, you could add it, but you would have to hand stitch the top and tack the bottom. But still, it's a little bit of hand stitching instead of the whole top of that quilt. So I still think we could make it work. So if anybody wants to try that, let me know how it goes. I think that still would be a fabulous way to hang small quilts. Now I've got one more question for you, Elaine. How many triangles do you put across the top of the quilt? Is there a rule of thumb on how far apart they should be?
I have one massive quilt. I think I've put 6 or 7.
Okay. Okay, so maybe every 10 to 12 inches, something like that?
Let me see.
Okay. And my other thought is that it depends if you use the enclosed end method, where you can actually stretch it a little bit tight on that rod versus putting the rod under where it might kind of sag in the middle. So we absolutely need to decide. Oh, okay. Oh, I still have Rick and Bev Henyon up here, which is the email address to write to if you have questions about our getaway week up in Acadia National Park. It looks like I lost Elaine. Maybe she'll be back. But if she's not back, my suggestion would be to put those triangles every 10 to 12 inches on the top of your larger quilts. Oh, here's Elaine. She's back again.
I touched, but I got cut out.
Yeah.
This is one of my larger quilts, and every couple of inches.
Yeah, we can't see it, Elaine. You got to go down. Okay, yep, that's better. And pull back. And you've got your finger in front of the camera right now. Yep, still
iPads aren't made for doing it this way.
No. We need to figure out that reverse camera for you. Anyway, yeah. So are you thinking that's about every 10 to 12 inches, or is it closer?
About that, yes.
Yeah, 10 to 12 inches would be my recommendation. Good. Thank you for showing us that, Elaine. Fantastic. All right, so I'm going to remove Elaine. Oh, no, there she is. Now we can see your face. I'm happier with that. Yeah, the Scudic Institute retreat. Let me just put that up there again. The Scudic Institute retreat is at Acadia National Park in Winter Harbor, Maine. And if I can look at my calendar really quickly, that's going to happen at the end of October. So I'll just put a little plug in once again for UFOs over Scudic, which is a 1 week long retreat. We have 6 days together, and that is right at Acadia. So in Acadia, there's lots of hiking. There's lots of things to do in the local area. It's a very little quiet corner of Maine, but Acadia National Park is stunning, and we will have the opportunity to do a little bit of not biking. I'll do that with my husband. We'll do a little bit of hiking right along the Rocky Maine coast, and you will get a beautiful taste of Maine while we are stitching together. So I'm heading up to Scudic on October 20th, and we have our opening day at Scudic. I want to say it's Sunday, October 22nd. Correct me if I'm wrong. I know Debbie West is out there and she's coming up to Maine. I don't know if our opening day is Saturday or Sunday, but we're going to have so much fun together. It is going to be a great time. Now, there will definitely be some celebrating going on when I get to see a bunch of our followers of Sue Pelland Designs up at that retreat. We are just going to have a great time. We are going to definitely celebrate our successes together, and we will do a little bit of show and tell as well. Everyone, thanks for hold on just a second. Mary says, thank you, Elaine, for sharing with us today. We got to see a few of your quilts, and you do beautiful work. Thank you, Mary.
Well, thank you.
And Debbie West confirmed, yes, October 22nd, Sunday, is our first day up at Scudic. The dates are October 22nd to the 28th. You can get on the mailing list also if you're not ready to attend this year, but you want to hear where I'm teaching or when I'm teaching in Maine up in the future. Go ahead and get on the UFOs over Scudic mailing list, and you can do that by reaching out to Rick and Bev Henyon at gmail.com. I'm going to put up that address because there is a dot in there, rickandbev.henyon at gmail.com. Elaine, thank you so much for being my special guest today. I can't wait to see you around the membership.
You're quite welcome, and congratulations on all the quilt shows.
Oh, I'm so excited. September is a crazy busy month, but we are going to have so much fun showing off our quilts and celebrating those finished projects. I hope you find a way to celebrate whenever you finish one of your projects or any other milestone in your life. Don't forget to celebrate. It's part of being proud of who you are and being proud of what you do. And I'm so proud of all of you and everything that you have accomplished. So thanks for coming to Sewing in Slippers with Sue. Bye, Elaine. See you soon.
Bye-bye.